Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, so it's time for my midweek pickup. Today, I wanted to talk about knowing when you're ready. Uh, I have a few people in my life that are about to make that jump, either get married, trying to get married, looking forward to marriage, and they may not be ready, or their partner may not be ready, but you have to kind of steer that person down the road to where they see that if they're not ready, they need to acknowledge it and fix what they need to fix if they're serious about going on, or they need to go on and put a stop to the situation and say, hey, I need to get myself ready real quick, and then we need to take a break or whatever. Because one thing that you don't want to do is get into something that is very hard for you to get out of. And marriage is something that is very hard for people to get out of. People think, you know what I'm saying? I mean, divorce is very common these days or whatever, but a lot of people don't understand that a marriage is not just saying, I do anymore. It's a lot of it's business now a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about love. You have things that are invested in marriage. You have money invested. You get a house. You get cars. Businesses, if you're doing that type of thing, a lot is invested in marriage. So you have to really understand, if you're really ready for it, then you know what I'm saying, that's great. But you have to understand, if you're not ready for it and you do it, it's going to be a lot more for you to lose when you realize, hey, I never was ready for this, let me go on and jump out of it or whatever. And that's what society does these days. A lot of people don't want to work on things. A lot of people don't want to do the things that they need to do to better the marriage or take it to the next level or whatever. And I was one of those people. I really didn't understand what it was to actually be married, and that came with immaturity at the age that I did get married at, because and I tell this to people too. I really wasn't mature enough to understand what marriage really meant. Now that I've gotten a little older, and I've been through some things in my marriage, and things that have made us stronger, I can really see and appreciate what it really means to have a wife and a family or whatever, and to cherish them the way that they're supposed to be cherished. I was telling somebody this the other day. Um, when you're ready to get married, as a man, you should already know that, hey, I'm about to marry this woman. I'm ready to take care of her at every aspect. I'm ready to be there for her with whatever goes on. If something tragic happens, I'm ready to be there and nurse her back to health. If I need to nurse her back to health, I'm gonna be there through thick and thin, whatever the case may be. It's something that you have to root yourself in. Marriage is like a seed. You both come together as one seed and you plant it in the dirt. If you don't water it and give it the amount of nutrients and sun and energy that it's supposed to have, how is it going to grow? It's not gonna grow. It's gonna start growing, and if you're going good, I guess we'll do like stages. Say you're going good the first 2 years, and then you start sprouting up a little bit, get some leaves, get some color to it or whatever. And then when the 2 years get there and you get, stagnant, you're on just that level or whatever, and you don't see yourself growing. So now your plant that has grown from a seed to a plant is starting to wither because you're not giving it the proper nutrients that it needs. And marriage is a lot like that. If you don't feed your marriage, if you don't take care of, and I guess like, if you don't really want it to grow into something, then it's not ever going to grow into that. And it's just like people at the same time. You know what I'm saying? If a person does not want to change, if a person does not want to grow and go to the next level, they're not going to do it. It doesn't matter how much you sit there and you try and preach to a person, or you try and tell somebody, hey, this is what you should do, blah, blah, blah. I've told you this before. No one knows you better than you. So somebody else coming to tell you something that you are that about yourself, they really can't do it because you already have your mind made up of what you want to do. You may take what they have to say into consideration, but your mind's already made up, you know what I'm saying? Because you're thinking, hey, when after they finish talking and I leave here, or for instance, I drive away from here, I'm gonna leave that person here and I'm gonna be driving and I still have to think about it. I still have to, you know what I'm saying, go through whatever situation it is. But that person's back there, you know what I'm saying? They done told me what they had to tell me. They're not dealing with it. So sometimes it's very hard for us to take in advice or criticism from other people because sometimes our mind is already made up and we're going to do what we already set out to do. And a lot of times that could be bad because sometimes you have to hear from another perspective for you to hear yourself, if that makes any sense. But back onto the marriage thing. And that ties into it too, but I'm just using different examples as always. But when you are with somebody and you're with this person for a long time, things may start to get routine, stale. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, we do the same thing every day. Up at 7 o'clock, we about to do this or whatever. If you don't want your stuff to start failing and withering, you have to find creative ways to keep the flame going. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a candle. It's going to eventually burn out. You know what I'm saying? But if you're smart enough and you can recycle the wax, if you will, you know what I'm saying, and make the candle long again, then it's going to keep burning. It's the same candle, you know what I'm saying. You might have to add another wick in there, put some wax, put it together, you know what I'm saying. It's the same candle, but it's the same flame that's burning. And that's what you need in your marriage. You want that flame to keep going no matter what. You want it to burn harder and longer than it ever has before at each stage of your marriage. Me and my marriage, I came to a point to where I had to, I guess, see that I fell back in love with my wife. You know what I'm saying? It's something that a lot of people think is cliche and that's just something that people say. But you actually have to do that because, like I said, when things become routine and you do the same thing over and over again, you get used to it, and then human nature is you want something else, something a little bit more exciting, and then that's when temptation comes in. That's when the wrong aspects start attacking you, and then you're so, I guess, done with the same routine. You want something different, then you go out there and you make the mistake or whatever. And that's what we have to stay away from as much as possible, because the thing about evolution and growth is sometimes it's really hard to get a step ahead. You know what I'm saying? Just one step. But when you get that step ahead, you can see the growth or whatever and the difference. But sometimes it's really hard to get that step ahead. But it's always so easy. It's always so easy to go back 3 or 4 steps versus going up 1 step. Because it's easy to go and do, you know what I'm saying, the wrong thing. That's why they put makeup on it and make it seem like it's so cool and good or whatever. But it's always hard to do the right thing. That's why when you do the right thing, you see the reward of doing the right thing. But when you do the wrong thing, that'll start, you know what I'm saying, it's like a trickle down effect. This starts going wrong, then that starts going wrong, then that starts going wrong, then that starts going wrong. But it's a lot of things that we have to cherish in life, and one thing that we have to cherish is our significant others. If God blessed you with somebody and you know that that's the person that you are supposed to be with, you need to cherish that person, period. Especially if you think, or if you have asked God at one point in time to give you that person and he gave you that person, you always have to remember, hey, if it was 25 years ago, you know what I'm saying, 25 years ago, I asked God to give me this person and he gave this person to me. So no matter if it's 50 years down the line, you still have to cherish, you know what I'm saying, what God blessed you with. But it's just something that I want to kind of get out there, because a lot of people do take marriage lightly. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I was immature when I first got married. So yeah, I did take it a little lightly. And sometimes it takes a long time for people to really see what the world and what, you know what I'm saying, it really is about, you know what I'm saying? But you got a 50-50 chance. Are you going to see it when it's too late for you to see it, or are you going to see it when you're in it and then go to the next level, you know what I'm saying? But I get off of that real quick. And something else that I want everybody to understand is, you may think that you're going through a lot, and you may think that like it just keeps getting worse, it just keeps getting worse, it just keeps getting worse. And then you might have a situation where you think it's completely bad, but in that situation you kind of gotta see, if God's giving you a break, take it. You know what I'm saying? If you think that you're in a storm and you just really go stay in the storm forever or whatever, but it's a break in the storm, recognize the break and take it. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing about being in a storm is, when you don't really realize um, that God is trying to give you a break, all you can see is the storm. So you're not letting any crack of sunlight get in there with you to make you feel better about any situation. So you think that the storm is all the time, nonstop, 24/7, and you can't see the breaks, you know what I'm saying? But look for the break in the storm, because a break, when you take it for real, is going to end up, like all breaks, being a little bit longer than expected sometimes. And then sometimes that break may be the beginning of your way out of the storm. But if you don't recognize that you're getting a break, you're not going to be able to recognize, hey, this may be my chance to dip up out of here real quick, and, you know what I'm saying, start focusing on, you, or whatever the case may be. Let's see, what else has been going on this week? The debate. I don't know if I said something about this earlier, but we are in trouble. I watched the whole debate. I watched them, mainly Donald Bicker and things like that. I already knew who I was voting for. Y'all probably already know as well. The debate didn't sway me. It didn't make me. It just made me think that, hey, if it was some kind of way where we could not have a president for the next 4 years, then that would be much better than either one of them running. But you have to pick one of them, so you have to go, I guess, with the most sanest, sanest is not really a word, but the most sane choice. And it's rough out there. But of course, this country is still getting struck with tragedy after tragedy. So keep people in prayer. Period. Not even if you don't know the people, just keep them in prayer. But yeah, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. But with all that being said, put God first, family second. Everything else will follow. Look for your breaks in the storms. Know that if God has given you somebody, you need to cherish that person, no matter what, because he gave that person to you for a reason. So you have to cherish that person as much as you can. And, just keep your head up, man. If you're going through something, you know what I'm saying, just look for the breaks that you can take between whatever you're going through, so you can try and find a way out the storm. With that being said, I will see y'all next week. Have a good weekend. It's almost October, so I hope you're getting your all your goals set up for this last quarter, because it's, like I said, time doesn't wait on anybody. See y'all next week.